Recording. And here we go. Let's go. Aww. Welcome to the Unscheduled CEO. It's Tuesday. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Unscheduled CEO podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Courtney. This is a podcast about a CEO who's me, who has been running a couple of different companies for the last 15 years. And this is sort of like my extended midlife crisis about what do I do now that I've accidentally achieved all the goals I didn't even know I had in a very short period of time. And now I'm 37. I'm like, what the fuck do I do with my life? But the cool part is I have managed to build a life that is completely unscheduled, meaning I don't have to, at least from a work perspective, be anywhere for anybody, do anything at a specific time. Which was sort of my goal from the beginning. I didn't want anybody telling me what to do, where to be. This is just something that doesn't appeal to me. And the kind of challenge for the last few years for me, and I know it's a first world problem, but you're not listening to this podcast for anything other than listening to someone who has just first world problems complain. Again, that really is what if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe he's complaining, even though blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this is definitely not the podcast for you. I am absolutely telling you right now. I know there are people who really wish they would have my problems, and I'm grateful for the problems that I have, but that's what this podcast is. So, it comes out every Tuesday. So I've actually put it on a schedule for the last couple of weeks. And if you heard last week's episode, I am trying to get this podcast to 10,000 weekly listeners by March 2026 for various reasons. If you're watching the video edition of this and you're looking at my face and you're wondering, why do I look so fucking tired? Like, the black circles under my eyes are so thick and dark. Well, I think a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I'm just at the end of like traveling nonstop. You can see the last few weeks, you can see like bags behind me in various versions of disheveled. This room is so disheveled. I've just been traveling kind of on and off, I think, for the last 4 weeks. Speaking, just lots of different things going on. That combined with launching a lot of different things at AJ and Smart, and kind of just lots of stuff going on. Now, but why do I look so fucking tired today specifically is that, so I don't know if I told you guys this, but a couple of months ago, I was in San Francisco. I think I did talk to you guys about it, but whatever, I'll repeat it. I was very lucky to be able to sit down with a kind of like well-known doctor, who we were working on a project with, and we were not talking about my health, but we were talking about metabolic health. And I just said kind of like, I actually have constant issues with heartburn. And she just like locked onto it and started asking me loads of questions and asking me about my blood test results that I had relatively recently. And eventually she came to the conclusion or came to the suggestion. She was like, do you know if you are gluten intolerant? And I was like, no, I don't know if I'm gluten intolerant, but I'm eating bread and stuff, and I'm not puking or having violent diarrhea or something. And she was just like, well, if you're gluten intolerant, you might just have a like constantly inflamed stomach. But you could literally go through your entire life without ever figuring this out. And the only way to really figure it out. She actually suggested it was a wheat intolerance, because apparently a lot of people from Ireland and Scotland have that, like have this high potential for this gene that makes you intolerant to wheat in particular, not just gluten, or not gluten, wheat. And since I was having so many heartburn issues and was trying all this different medication and everything, nothing was really working. I was like, fuck it. I've read on the internet that I should try cutting it out and stuff, but I never actually did it. And when she told me and kind of explained all this stuff to me, I was like, all right, I'll try it. So she was like, just cut out gluten and dairy for 6 weeks and see if anything happens. And if nothing happens, just continue the rest of the medical journey. So I stopped eating gluten basically that day. And my heartburn symptoms, like this kind of burning sensation in my stomach, which I would get like, I don't know, like there were phases where I would have it sometimes for multiple months in a row, and I would have to take, like a proton pump inhibitor. Anyone listening who has heartburn issues, you know how it goes. Sometimes you only get it a few times, and sometimes you get it for like an extended period of time. So I was on one of those extended periods of time where I was getting it almost every day, and stopped eating gluten, and the heartburn pretty much stopped straight away. But then I was like, in my mind, I was like, this is psychosomatic. This is like, I'm imagining that it's going away because I've tried things before where it goes away and then it's back within 2 weeks or whatever. But the symptoms of heartburn and other kind of stomach issues basically reduced by about 80% within maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And I still have like kind of a sensitive esophagus. Like I still get like issues, but the heartburn thing has pretty much reduced down to, it's like 20% or 10% of what it was. And I'm down to, whereas I was almost needing medication sometimes every day. And now I'm basically, you're looking at like once or twice a week where I actually do things that would make it worse. Maybe needing to take just like one of these alginate, these chewable things, maybe like literally 2 of those per week or something, or maximum, whereas it was a lot. Anyway, why am I telling you this? It's because on Sunday I ordered dinner from a place. I haven't eaten gluten, and keeping in mind I'm not a celiac, so I've definitely there's been contaminated food and it's fine. I don't notice anything. But I ordered from a pasta place, and I clicked the button, gluten-free pasta, and it arrived, and I ate it. And the first thing I noticed, I was like, gluten-free pasta is usually kind of shit. This tastes like 100% exactly like the really good pasta they usually have. And so the first thing I did after I took like 2 or 3 bites, I was like, wait a minute, I'm just going to check that I really ordered the gluten-free. So I checked it and I said, yes, okay, it's the gluten-free one. And I was like, all right, okay, maybe it just is really good. And it's changed dramatically since the last time I've eaten it. And then keep in mind, this is like the first time I've eaten gluten in 3 months. I haven't had it in 3 months. Haven't experimented with it, trying a little bit and seeing what happens. So ate the entire thing, was extremely delicious, felt pretty sick after it, like uncommonly, like enough to check like the like a little receipt thing that was attached to the bag. Yeah, it says gluten-free. And then like asking my sister who had been there, because she also has, she's testing out this gluten thing because she has the same issues as me. And she said, yeah, she feels sick. And I was like, uh-oh. But Laura and my daughter didn't feel sick. And they don't have this issue, but we all ate the same thing. And anyway, I felt fine after like 2 or 3 hours. So I was like, whatever. It was probably just all the dairy or something. Next morning, It was bad. I'm not going to go into too much detail, obviously. But I woke up. I was getting up to get my daughter ready for school, and my stomach didn't feel right. And let's fast forward to me having to wake Laura up and say, "Hey, I'm really sorry, but I have to stay here. I can't leave. I can't leave the toilet, basically." And we had a very last minute situation where I just had to bail out of bringing my daughter to school, and it was a bad morning, guys. And this is why I look like absolute fucking shit, because that was yesterday morning. I'm back today. I'm back to normal. But man, it was basically food poisoning. And I mean, I'm just deducing here that it was probably not gluten-free pasta, because it didn't seem to be food poisoning based on other people who had eaten the same thing. And only myself and my sister started to feel ill after it. So there you go. That's the story. That's the deduction that the gluten thing might actually not be bullshit. Because, I'm always like, what is it that? Is it something else? And, well, yeah. Anyway, I mean, the other element of it is every time I ate bread, I would get severe heartburn. No, there can't be any correlation. So, welcome. Now that you know what's going on. Welcome back to the Unscheduled CEO podcast. Hope you guys are doing well. This week is... So it's this episode, today I'm recording, it's the 18th of November, and the episode will go out today. Today's a very exciting day for me because my favorite company in the world. So if you're wondering who I kind of always looked up to, one of the companies that I always looked up to when building AJ and Smart, it's a company called Valve. And Valve is a video game company. They are a company that, if you know anything about video games, you know them, but their most famous video game is Half-Life. They also made Portal. They also are the kind of biggest store for PC gaming. They have the Steam store. What's really special about them. Let me get this number accurate so I don't bullshit it, how much their revenue is. So Valve has an estimated revenue, because they are a private company, which is crazy. They have an estimated revenue of $16 billion. They have almost the highest revenue per employee in the world, higher than Facebook and all of these big tech companies. So they are let's look at per employee, $19 million per employee, which is insane. It's higher than companies like YouTube, Nvidia, etc., etc. And what's really special about that company and why I've always looked up to them is they just do whatever they want. They don't play by any of the normal rules of what you expect first of all, a video game company to do, but in general, a company to do. I'll give you an example of something that they do that really doesn't make any sense. And almost all of it doesn't make sense, but just to give you a feeling for some of the things that they do that are kind of confusing. So for example, they created a video game called Half-Life back in the day. It was it kind of invented the genre of video games that have proper stories in them. That was the big thing about it. It was one of the first narrative video games that felt like a movie or felt like it was written well. Then a couple of years later, I don't know how many years later, let's look at how many years there was between Half-Life 1 release date was November 9th. Oh yeah, okay. November 19th, 1988. And then Half-Life 2 release date was November 16th, 2004. So 1998, 9, 2000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 years later. And there hasn't been a Half-Life 3 since there hasn't been basically, Half-Life 2 considered one of the best games of all time. They almost like invented the idea of using physics in a very special way in video games. And again, kind of, is put up as like, okay, this is like the best in class first person shooter with puzzles, amazing storytelling, etc., etc. One of the highest rated video games of all time. I'm sure it sold extremely well. They did if anyone knows the story, they did like these episodes after it, and the idea was to finish the story in an episodic way, and then they just sort of stopped. And so keep in mind the last mainline Half-Life game was in 2004. It's now 2025. So yeah, more than 20 years ago. And if they were a normal company, they would have milked the fuck out of this franchise because it's such a huge franchise. But because they're not a normal company, and because they're one of the only like companies that make this much money that's still basically, still independent, run by the founder, Gabe Newell, who has a new yacht, by the way. And it's so rare for a company to be that big and powerful, but also completely opinionated. It's almost like it's a completely opinionated, like, art and creativity focused, massive company that has to answer to nobody except the customers. And this really appeals to me. This always appealed to me. And I always wanted and continue to want AJ and Smart to just not... I actually need to go back on something. Valve actually doesn't do what the customers want. They just do what they want to do. So they don't do what the markets want them to do. Doesn't matter because they're private. They also don't do what their customers want them to do. They do what they want to do. And whenever you get the chance, or whenever anyone gets the chance to ask the CEO, which is like it's a big meme at this point, is like, what about Half-Life 3? If he's willing to answer, he just says, well, it's, we're not going to release something like this until we have something special to say or special to do or something innovative. And it has to also it has to be interesting enough for the teams to work on it. And so whereas another game company or another company, doesn't matter, just put in any product there, once they have a hit on their hands, the teams have to fucking churn that thing out forever. Call of Duty is a great example. Fortnite is a great example. Pretty much every franchise, like even Nintendo, who are much better at this and they really take their time in between franchises, they're still not comparable to Valve. They still... At least within another 6 years, you get another Zelda or something. Whereas Valve, they'll just do whatever they feel like doing, even though it occasionally creates a lot of friction their customers get really annoyed with them. The joke is that they can't count to 3 because they have another game series you might know even better, which is called Portal. If you haven't played Portal, it's an amazing video game, puzzle game. They made Portal 1. Again, it was one of these games that it was like critically acclaimed, really great seller. Then they made Portal 2, critically acclaimed, really great seller. Guess what? They didn't make a Portal 3. And so what they do is they create a game. They then, a very long time later, do a big iteration on it and make it just the sequel is just like a way of testing out pushing the mechanics to the limit, and then they stop and just see what else they want to work on. And this is very much like how we operate at AJ and Smart. I'll give you a great example. Workshop or Master. This is our half-life because it's our most successful product that both sells really well and customers love. This product was released in 2020, so 5 years ago. And the expectation from our audience and from our customers is that we make a follow-up to it. And I didn't want to make a follow-up until there was a reason to make a follow-up, until I had something much, much better, something very special, something completely different and worth standing alone. I mean, I know what I would do to cash in. I would just make essentially a sequel to Workshop or Master. And I was thinking of doing this. I know how to cash in, right? I know exactly what to do to turn that built up demand into a 1.5 million euro launch day, and then a couple of million every year for the next few years, just selling that one product because that's what the customers want. But that's not what I want to do. And that's not what's exciting the team at AJ and Smart right now. And so this creates this weird thing about my company where it's very hard to predict what we're going to do because we only do what we feel like doing, not what we think the customers would like us to do. And yes, this annoys our customers, and there are people who then, get irritated with us, and they're like, why don't you just do this? And why don't you just do that? And I always kindly say to them, because if I'm not interested in doing it, it's just going to die, or it's not going to be great. It's just going to be good. It's going to be fine. And that's okay if someone else is running the company maybe, but it's not okay if I'm running the company, because I care about everything we do and I want to be interested in it and I want to be excited about it. Because the point of running this company for me is not to just make money. I can do that. Like I said, I can do a cash grab, just whatever, And we have those things in the year. For example, Black Friday is coming up next week. We're going to do a fucking Black Friday sale like we do every year. We're going to have an amazing offer in it. And that's going to bring in tons of cash. But that's like basically the exception to the rule. If I'm making something, I have to be excited about it. It has to be fun. It has to be interesting. It has to be worth my time, because whether I'm making money or not from it, I just care more about being engaged and excited. That's kind of like, otherwise I just get depressed, right? If I have to work on something that I don't give a shit about, even if it's going to make loads of money, I can never actually finish it, right? Doesn't matter to me. So that's why you sometimes see a lot of inconsistency with AJ and Smart, where you look from the outside and you might feel like, why don't they just do this? Why don't they just do that? Like when people hang out with me, they see that I basically, dramatically reduced my investment in the enterprise side of AJ and Smart. And they're like, yeah, but you could just hire someone to run the enterprise business. And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't generally get on with the type of people who like to run enterprise businesses. We can't hang out. We hate each other. I'm basically, to them, I am like fucking the biggest hippie of all time, right? They think I'm like John Lennon or something. And to me, they are like evil corporate overlords that I can't spend time with, right? I don't think they're evil. I don't think these people are evil, by the way. It's just, I just don't care about stuff that is purely about making money. It just doesn't interest me. It's boring to me. And then it shows in the work. So Valve has always been this sort of North Star to me when I see them doing things that just don't really make sense. Like, and when I see people being really confused and annoyed on the internet about them, like Like Nintendo or a similar company where people are like, oh, why don't they just fucking do this? It's the obvious thing. And they just don't do it because they don't want to. And I think that's the hard thing for people who are used to companies just being money maximizing machines. Like the stupid thing about AJ and Smart and facilitator.com, the stupid thing is, I told you, I think it was 3 years ago at this point, we got to like 6.5 million gross revenue, something like that. And now we're way below that. And I would love to say it's because of the market. I would love to say it's because there was like a bad investment. But actually, the truth is that just wasn't really, it was just getting less enjoyable. And when something becomes less enjoyable, I can't focus on it. And I just stop caring about it. And then there's no one driving the ship as fast anymore, or as like everyone at AJ and Smart can tell when I'm not interested in something, and that in line makes them less interested about it too. Why don't I just get another person to be the CEO? I've tried that many, many times, my friends, many, many times. And a company of this size, like a company of the size that we are, it's quite hard to find someone who is good enough to run it and grow it, but who also doesn't want to be paid $1 million per year. So I think there's this challenge. I think there's been 3 different people trying to be CEO of AJ and Smart over the last 15 years. And it's not that everyone like failed like dramatically. It's just that the pressure gets too high for them. The end game is that they always stop being able to make money. That's it. Because I'm the one who comes up with the ideas generally of how what new things we're going to create and how we're going to put that together in a way that makes money. If we were a much bigger company, this would be different, but I'm not sure. Like even at 50 people, I think it would be the same problem. I see this with other CEOs as well. So yeah, I think at AJ and Smart, we're looking. I'm looking at Valve as a company now. The thing that they have that we do not have is a $16 million cash cow, and I think that's fucking amazing. It's so cool that they have this cash cow, which is Steam, the platform that they created, by the way, which is pretty much I love, and this is a very common thing that happens. Steam is the byproduct of launching Half-Life 2 because they basically wanted to have a launcher for it. And so Steam was the byproduct of that. Obviously, they knew what they were doing there, but the fact that it then turned into the de facto best platform for selling games basically in the world wasn't obviously the expectation that they had. And that's amazing that they now have that. Yeah, and Steam is Valve is a company that very much relies on the employees themselves being interested in what they're working on. So, for example, sometimes someone will come, like I'll be at an in-person event. What always happens is someone comes up to me and says, like, why don't you guys do this? Or why don't you guys do that? Actually, there's always one person at one of our events who just badgers me over and over again with some business model they think that we should be doing without taking 1 second to ask me why I don't do it. And if they were to ask, I would say, because I don't want to. Because I don't want to, and no one at this company wants to. If you find someone at AJ and Smart who desperately wants to do this thing you're talking about, cool. Then we might do it. But the reason we're not doing stuff isn't because we don't know what to do. It's just because we don't want to do the stuff. That's basically it. Like should we be running a facilitation conference? Probably. Like, it would be the biggest one in the world very easily because there's just not that much competition. Do I want to run a facilitation conference? No. I don't want to run a conference at all. I just don't like to do that. Does anybody else at AJ and Smart like to do that? Also no. So this is how this company works. It's very much based on who actually feels like doing stuff, because in the same way I don't want to tell anyone, in the same way I don't want anyone to tell me what to do, I also have no interest in trying to motivate people to do stuff. They either want to do it or they don't, and I don't care. And one of the most impactful things that I read on my journey of building AJ and Smart was the Valve employee handbook that leaked. Nobody actually knows whether it leaked or whether they just put it out there because it was good for PR. But even though obviously like there are ex-Valve employees who dispute how this actually works in reality, I think that the general concept of that handbook about how projects work at Valve, which is basically just you have to find you just have to search what you want to work on. No one's going to tell you. You just have to find a project that's happening and join it, or you have to start something and get people to join it. And I love that concept. It didn't really work at AJ and Smart, to be honest. And I think that's due to the size of our company, meaning that there hasn't been, I think, in 15 years, a time really when someone started something at AJ and Smart besides or without me driving it. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that really happens at AJ and Smart. But still, I like the idea. And I think for something like that to happen, you also have to, like, we're just working on a much smaller scale than Valve. You know, they have like, actually how many, I think, do they seriously only have 85 employees? They have 336 employees. Yeah. Yeah. We have currently like 14. So that's like one of the small teams within Valve would be the size of our entire company. But yeah, the company Valve, and why am I thinking about them a lot this week? Well, last week they announced like some new hardware, which again was very different from the hardware that's on the market already. It's kind of like not really an obvious, you'd have to check it. I'm not going to go into the explanation, but basically what they launched or what they're releasing is very different to what everyone else is doing. Open gaming platform, Steam, whatever. I have a Steam Deck. I'm just a big fan of Valve. I'll just buy whatever they make. But today, there's a lot of rumors, and this rumor mill has been going for 20 years straight, so it'll actually be a pretty big deal. Today, there are rumors that Half-Life 3 will actually get announced, which would be kind of crazy, considering it would be 21 years since Half-Life 2. So, yeah, it would be a pretty big deal, and I'm personally very excited, and it's like, obviously there's a nostalgia element to it because this is a video game from my childhood, and Half-Life 2, I remember playing or watching a friend play for months while we were still in high school. And I really hope that it does come out. That friend was Alex, and we were in a band together. Actually, my friend Kyle just sent me some of our music. Our music is obviously, we were never a big band, so we just have like little recordings on our laptops. We've got some. Oh. I'm pausing it before I start singing on that song because I will get embarrassed. Hey. But yeah, that's. He even found some live recordings. We were playing live constantly, but there was one gig we had in London, and I can't remember how it happened, but someone like had like a recording device like plugged into the system, and so we got the clean, like we've never had any clean recordings of ourselves. And I listened back to this. This is from, I don't know, 18 years ago or something. And I listened back to it and I was like, we sound like the Arctic Monkeys. We didn't even have that comparison in our minds back then. But now I listen back to this particular song and I'm like, sounds like the Arctic Monkeys to me. This is live, by the way, so there's like mistakes and stuff. All right, I'll let you listen to some singing because it's actually hilariously out of tune. As in, I go really out of tune here. Get ready for it. You said you got it easy, you said you got it nice, but I can see that everything's all wrapped up deep inside. I went down to the city, I went down in the night, but painful. All right, there we go. That's the actual. It's funny because I hadn't heard our band. I hadn't heard my band in a very, very long time. And I kind of imagined us being like, I didn't realize until I listened to some of the live stuff that we were basically, we were basically a like kind of rock band. I remember always trying to figure out how we describe ourselves, because when you're trying to get gigs, you say, well, we're kind of like this, we're kind of like that. So we used to always say, we sound like Beck. So the band Beck, which we kind of do in some songs, mixed with The Offspring, which we kind of sound like sometimes too. And now it would have been, now if we would go around and try to get gigs, I would say we sound like fucking the Arctic Monkeys mixed with Beck, mixed with the Offspring. I think this song sounds very Beckish. Or old Beck.
It's your time to stop. Now don't be questioning me, your highness. These directions are nature's finest. Use a map to find the treasure. A treasure so big that man can't measure. When you find the X, you start to dig.
This really sounds like Beck.
That's so big, just call my name. Look into the sky, that name again. That name is Die.
I'm going to let you guys listen for a little bit here. That was I remember that song. We were kind of like, not that, it's a really old one. I think I kind of wrote the first version of it when I was like 14 or something. Okay, when we stopped playing, it wasn't that far from 14, but I remember it's just a joke song, right? The lyrics are just supposed to be funny. I just wanted to make people laugh. Most of the songs between like 12 and 15 or something, I was basically writing them to make my friends laugh. So they just were fucking stupid and kind of like South Parky and shock value, whatever. They're still kind of funny. But that was one of the ones where once we played it live, we actually realized, people actually really like that one. And so we always played it last on our set, even though the lyrics at some point, I'm like, this is just so many of the songs that worked well on stage were just a joke. And if you listen to last week's podcast, the reason I started digging for the music and asking Kyle, the drummer, hey, can you like send me some of the files? 'Cause I want to hear some, was because I was like, basically what I do all the time is go up on stage and try to make a joke and do it in a way that's somehow high quality, as in the joke we were making with the band. The music was supposed to be kind of like meaningless and just fun to listen to, but I wanted it to also sound very good, like, and like be fun and exciting to be at the live show. And so that's why I was like, oh yeah, like that's basically what I'm always doing. What I always end up going back to is trying to do something well, but do something stupid and like silly, but in a way that's somehow good. I don't know why I went on that track right there, by the way. I just opened the tab and got distracted. I have 2 drinks today. If you don't know, I do sparkling water reviews on this podcast, and I've been pretty bad with it because I haven't had a lot of time because I've been traveling. And so I just realized I bought 2 cans here, and one of them I already reviewed. So that is the Voss lemon and cucumber. So I'm not going to open that. But what I have not reviewed yet, and I already have a feeling it's not going to be great, is the Volvic Touch Cherry. If you're just tuning in and trying to figure out what I'm doing here, I'm reviewing sugar-free water, sparkling water, and it must be in a can. I'm not going to re-explain it. It's just got to be done. So let's get the thing up on screen here. Ba 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 da ba da ba 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 da ba 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 ba. Here we go. Hello. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll now see the list. So I'm gonna open this little baby. Let's put on some sparkling water drinking music. It even sounds wet. This is the Volvic Touch Cherry. I can barely smell anything. I wonder if I'm getting COVID because can I smell anything at all right now? I can barely smell it, even though I know it's kind of strong. I'm going to taste this now. Oh, it's strong. It tastes strong. So here's what I'd say about this one. Again, the Volvic Touch. I think this one is better than the mango passion fruit. It's definitely less syrupy. Let me just give it another sip. I could drink about half a can of this. It really is not too bad. It's just a bit too syrupy for me. I'm going to say that it is it is 8th place or 9th place right now. So it is right above the Volvic Touch mango and passion fruit. It's okay. It's okay. I'm actually going to open the Voss and just see if it's still holding strong at 7th place. Smells like almost nothing. Again, I think maybe I'm getting COVID. Yeah. Not syrupy at all. Not kind of sickly sweet. Doesn't have any sweetness at all to it. It's just kind of refreshing. It's still not my favorite, but it is. I think if I look at these, I think it's in the right position. Let me take another sip. I think 7th place is the right position. Oh fuck. Yeah. Just got a message. My daughter left her eraser at my place and she's in school. All right. Oh. Got a lot of burps going on here. There has been no topic in this episode, has there? I guess that's good because last week when I said I'm going to get this episode to 10,000 listeners per month, I also clarified that that doesn't mean I'm going to make it useful. And I'm proving it right now. I guess I talked about my favorite company and something you can see where I'm getting a lot of inspiration from. I pull inspiration from a lot of places. I think Valve, another company I really love, another CEO I really love is Cable Sasser from Panic. They make this Playdate console, but they were also an agency. Obviously, 37 Signals, Basecamp, Jason Fried. Huge influence on me building my company. And of course, Sam Ovens, as I mentioned in the last few episodes, obviously very influential. I think one of the things that one of the things I noticed that people who are unsuccessful, all right, one of the things I noticed that people who are successful do a lot is they give credit to other people and other companies a lot. I think it's probably because they're not threatened. And they're just open to saying, this is where I learned this thing. I notice on this podcast, I mention other people a lot and what they have taught me. And I even said a couple of weeks ago, hey, this podcast is not an original. Like, I was watching another podcast, another guy called Jeff Gersman on Twitch, and I liked his setup. And I basically wanted to recreate that, but with my topic and my style and my kind of quirks, whatever. And I think one thing I really notice is that successful people really regularly mention where they're getting there, where they I don't know, like when someone says to me, oh, if the podcast is a perfect example. When someone says to me, oh, it's such a cool idea that you decided to do it unedited, that's so unique, blah, blah, blah. I'll always say, thank you so much. I actually got that idea from Jeff Gersman. And I actually got that idea from Twitch. Like, I really like to let people know where I'm getting my inspiration from. I enjoy letting people know where that all came from. And the thing that I did was I was able to take that and take action on it and change it into my own thing. And I really notice people who struggle and who are unsuccessful and who are kind of maybe a bit frustrated pretty much never give any sort of idea, or when they're building something, they never mention where they're getting their ideas from, or they never like you see that as well a lot in the Sam Ovens world. Back in the day, Sam had like a course and he was selling courses and showing, like the thing of course, teaching how to sell courses thing. And I noticed that a lot of his like students would just never mention the fact that they learned everything from him. And I was like, why? Why did they do that? Because they want people to think that they did it all themselves and that they're the authority. Whereas I actually trust people more when I understand where they're pulling their inspiration from. And I also find people less kind of creepy and less cagey when they're willing to just talk about their influences. I constantly mention like my, the companies I used to work for. And sometimes I'll be in conversations with people and I'll be like, yeah, I like one of the places I learned, a lot of the things I'm talking about today was working at like Deutsche Telekom in Germany. I was there for I don't know actually how long I was there for as an internal employee. I think I was only there for like 4 months, and then I worked with them over like the space of 2 years. And I learned a lot of things about just working as an adult and or even like Jake, for example. I often say Jake Knapp, the author of Sprint. Whenever I meet him, I really try to like remind him, hey, dude, just so you know, I have not forgotten that you basically massively boosted my career. Like just you giving me connections massively boosted my career, and I wouldn't have gotten to where I am today if you hadn't like taken a chance on me. And I notice that I'm usually the only person saying these things in any group of people. And I think that there's just something about, here's why I think it's a huge advantage. When I get advice from somebody or I get inspired by somebody, and then I actually go and do stuff, and then later I tell them, by the way, your book or your whatever massively inspired me to do this, and this. An example of that is Noah Kagan, the guy who runs AppSumo. He had this like course called the Entrepreneur Blueprint or something, and his friend Neville Medora had this copywriting course. I took it when I was around 20, and I basically did everything that they said in those things. And it really helped me. It really helped me on my journey. And 5 years ago, when I was in Austin, I text Noah Kagan, or I sent him a message on Instagram. And I was just like, I basically did everything you said, and it fucking worked out for me. And if you have any interest at all in hanging out, let me know. And I told this story before. He was just like, yeah, cool. Come to my house. Let's hang out. Myself and Laura went and hung out with him. That was amazing. And I think just being able to, and the point I'm trying to make here is it's actually satisfying to then the other person. So like in that case, Noah Kagan, I don't want to speak for him. I'm just giving you what I think. It's satisfying for the other person and it's more interesting to spend time with someone who, like, first of all, just from a pure ego perspective, will give you some credit for the work you've done, because it feels satisfying. I actually don't think it's for the ego perspective. It just feels satisfying to know that what you are doing is valuable. It just feels good. But on the other hand, you're also hanging around with someone who's actually going to be able to take your advice and use it to do something. Whereas he probably knows that most people, at least when I'm giving advice to people, 9 out of 10 people, they ask me for advice. While I'm giving them advice, they're telling me how they can't do it because they're not me, or it's easy for me to say, easy for you to say, Jonathan, you're already in this position, or yeah, easy for you to say, Jonathan, you're a guy and I'm not, whatever, And all I'm thinking in this moment when these people are saying this to me is, I'm never going to talk. I don't want to ever give you advice again. Like, it's so uninteresting. I'm getting nothing out of this. You have to think about when you're asking people for advice or asking people for help, or you're getting, I don't know, somehow learning from someone. If they're not getting anything out of it, they also won't have any interest in giving you more advice. Seriously, 9 out of 10 times when someone asks me for help and I'm giving them an answer, number one, they do nothing with it. Number two, they're already telling me how, they're like, they can't use their brain to put it in their context. So they're like, oh yeah, but like you're already at this position. It's like, yeah, use your brain, use your brain to figure this out. And then, or the worst is when they come back and they say, well, I tried it and it didn't work. The end. Whereas I will go to people who've given me advice, people like Sam. Like, I want to be a satisfying person to give advice to, because I want people to give me more advice. I want people to, like Blake, who was a mentor of mine for the last couple of years. I'm not paying him to be my mentor anymore. He reaches out to me and he's like, dude, you should do this, or you should check this out, or I definitely think you guys should do this, because he fucking knows that I'm the type of person who's going to message him 6 months from now and I'm like, here's what happened. Oh, and I don't bother reaching out if it didn't work, right? Because I know that that's just how I executed it or whatever. But just making it, there's another example is I hope you guys are okay with me talking about you guys, but the guys who run PipDex, the company PipDex, amazing entrepreneurs, Charles and Jacob. We hang out, right? We hang out and we give each other advice. They gave me a little bit of advice 3 weeks ago. And I think so they arrived on a Monday. We were talking and I implemented that advice within 2 days, right? And while they were just still hanging out with me, I was just doing it, right? And this is something that I think is surprising to people, how quickly I'm willing to act on someone's advice. Not because I'm just naive and will do anything people tell me. It's just because if I'm curious and if it's worked for the other person, I just want to see what will happen. And most people are like looking for excuses to do nothing. I'll give you a great example, all right? I have to go soon, actually. I need to get I got an MRI on my knee and I need to, whatever. So listen, there was a person who asked me for advice within the last 2 years. And they were like, I'm struggling getting clients and blah, 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 blah. And they saw the value in using LinkedIn for getting clients. And so I just gave some thoughts about how I had used LinkedIn to get clients and how my sister Rebecca is using LinkedIn and that's working really well. And this person was just like, yeah, but like, I don't really have time to do that. And in my mind, I'm like, then fucking don't ask me any fucking questions, wasting my fucking life. Like, shut the fuck up then. This is what I'm thinking in my mind. And then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. And then the person was like, yeah, and I don't know. I think I just kind of need I think I'm just going to go on vacation. And then I think I'm going to get back to this next year. And fair enough. Sometimes when you ask someone a question, you're just asking them to hear what you really think. But this person wasted like 40 minutes of my time when I could have been talking to someone else. It was a social situation. Every single thing I suggested to them, they basically said wasn't going to work. And then in the end, didn't want to do anything anyway. And of course, now when this person messages me and asks me for advice, they're not like good friends of mine or something. I just ghost them. I'm sorry. I just don't respond to them. Because I don't want to tell them that, hey, giving you advice is completely pointless, because then I have to be in a fight with them because I don't want to have an argument. And I also don't want to give them advice. If I meet them in person, if they're with the friend who I know, then I'll still, basically what I'll do now is like, oh, yeah. I'll basically just give I won't use any energy I'll just kind of go, I'll just go along with whatever they're saying. Because I know they don't do anything with the advice. They don't take advice. They're just, essentially, I'm getting nothing out of it. And this is something no one talks about. Like, nobody talks about the fact that people will actively go out of their way to make your life better and help you if they see you as the type of person who takes action and actually does something with it, but also is kind of like grateful for it in a way. Like, as in, you use it and you remember, oh, that was useful. Like, if I give advice, I get some satisfaction out of giving the advice, but nothing is more satisfying than someone coming back and saying, I tried this worked, that was cool. I'm not looking for someone to thank me. I'm looking for, I just want to know it did something, right? It actually was used. I think that, I don't even know how I got onto this topic, but I do think 9 out of 10 people who ask me for advice have been secretly put on my internal blacklist of, I'm not giving you advice anymore. Or if I do give you advice, it's basically pointless and harmless, right? It's basically, I'm telling you to do nothing. I'll give you an example. If you're on my internal secret blacklist for advice and you ask me like, hey, like, it's really hard to get clients and I'm wondering, then I'm going to be like, yeah, I totally get it. It's really hard to get clients at the moment. Yeah, it's the end. I'm not going to use one brain cell to solve these problems for you if you're that type of person. Whereas like Laura and I, we are asked for advice a lot, and we really appreciate being in the position that people even care about what we say. But for sure, it happens so quick. We talk about it afterwards. We're like, at one of our events or something, we're like, oh my God, like this person was really satisfying to talk to. Or especially when someone comes back and they're like, oh my God, they tried this thing and then they tried that thing. And if it didn't work, they're not like, it didn't work, what do I do next? If it didn't work, they followed that path and did another thing that worked. And I think this is very, very satisfying to speak to these types of people. If you want people to root for you and to help you in your life, in every part of your life, being someone who kind of, you shouldn't pretend. If you don't think the advice is good, you just should say, I don't think that's good advice, and then just stop asking that person. But if you're actively trying to get advice from someone or from people, you really have to learn how to deal with that, how to receive it, how to, I think this is something that Chris Do said as well. Like, you're honestly going to get further in life in most cases. Well, at least I can say it's worked for me. Just switching off the part of your brain where you're like, oh, this won't work for me because this, that's just an excuse for doing nothing. Whereas in most cases, for me with my mentors, even if I was like confused or a little bit like, I don't know if that's going to work for my vibe, I'll try it and then see if that's true. I think I made my point. I can't remember even remotely how I got onto this point. And I think, oh wow, we're at a 1 hour and 4 minutes for an episode. This is truly one of those, this is a proper Unscheduled CEO episode. And I really appreciate you guys listening. If you have anybody in your life who you think could benefit from listening to the Unscheduled CEO podcast, let them know. Hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to this just on Apple Music, Apple Podcast, whatever, I'd really appreciate if you went to YouTube and just hit that subscribe button hit the like button maybe on this episode. What it does is that YouTube just then displays it to more people, which is helpful for me in growing this podcast, which I do want to do right now. And I really hope Half-Life 3 gets announced today. If it doesn't, then fuck my life. Thanks so much, everybody. See you next Tuesday. Thanks, YouTube.